So the purposes of cloud storage for personal use is backing up data from your phone to another device, accessing your information securely from another device, and sharing and collaborating your information with others at the same time. And with this, if your phone is missing, lost, or stolen, this way you have easy accessibility through another device, whether it could be the internet, whether it could be a phone, a tablet you may have, to get your information as well as restore it onto your next phone. For those of you that are using cloud storage for work purposes, there's another set of concerns that happen. Some of you that work for publicly traded companies can no longer have paper or a pencil even at your desk. That's because a lot of the rules state that anything that you write on a piece of paper has to be stored for a certain amount of time within the company. Some of you can't store work data on your own local computers. It all has to be put onto another computer, whether it be a server in your office or a cloud storage system that the company maintains or purchases. And also some of it has to do with easy access to sharing and collaborating information with coworkers. And sometimes that also involves making changes to data as well. And also there is also the possibility with some of the services, particularly with ones such as OneDrive and some of the Microsoft features that are going on, it also has the ability to keep a log of changes that happen to data so that you can go back and correct something or look at what changes have been made if necessary. Now this is a list of 6 companies that provide cloud services for a lot of personal applications as well as business applications. And 2 of these, Google and Microsoft, I've worked on for the last 20 years. For Google, a lot of the information started from an email that I received telling me, hey, would you like to manage your email through us rather than using servers in your business to do. And that's been great because even back then we were running a platform to run cloud-based email services. But it was becoming a lot of consumption over time, storage space, and the possibility of getting viruses in your computer as well as a few other certain security reasons. And thankfully those all went away. As far as Microsoft goes, I know I have worked with a lot of their cloud-based platforms for the last 20 years, starting with SharePoint and up to Azure. Some of it as a customer, some of them as a contracted employee. And it's kind of interesting to see that a lot of what has gone on into that is something that is used in many businesses as well as homes today. One thing I do stress, and I've always stressed this over the years that I've been in the IT business, is that there's no such thing as a free lunch. Now, while some of these services are free, they do have a limited storage capability. Many of these services do provide a monthly or an annual fee to pay for the services. And a lot of what those fees should be treated as an insurance. In the IT business, having a mainframe computer or any computer for that matter has always had a backup source to it, whether it be floppy disk, CDs, tapes, or whatever the case may be. Nowadays we're actually even cloning hard drives to another hard drive, as well as backing things up through cloud services too. And this is something that should be considered when you make any cost. It should be treated no different than car insurance or home insurance. The one question that comes up, should you trust your cell phone manufacturer to back up your data? And that's a very good point. There have been some changes even within Google over the years that has caused some of these backups to be compromised. One example is that a few years ago we were using Google Plus, a social media platform that they developed to compete with Facebook to back up the pictures that in turn can be used through other devices such as Chromecast to view them. And a lot of those services went away. And once those went away, Google decided to come up with another platform known as Google One. And what Google One is it's a similar platform to what OneCloud is for Microsoft to back their information from your phones, from your Android devices, onto Google's cloud services. Now, Google is a big data company like Microsoft and Amazon, so they have a lot of resources to do to back your data up successfully. Whether they have a server farm in Eastern Oregon, the Dalles, or some other place in the world, and a lot of people have a lot of trust and reliability in what they do, and so even if the platform does change, there has been an option. Now, for cell phone manufacturers, that's not the case. Recently, within the past few years, there has been a plateau in the smartphone or the mobile electronic market in general. There's fewer companies that are in existence anymore. And this is a sample of some companies that are around in business, some that are not, and some that are still in the business, but they're doing other things. I know even as an LG customer, I received an email recently telling me that they are no longer allowing to have their cloud services to restore text messages. And this is kind of a bit of concern for many of you who have smartphones, because some of the text message programs that you use are proprietary to a specific manufacturer. Now, there are some ways that you can actually save that using other products. Skype was an example of one. Facebook Messenger is one where you can actually have it backed up and restored to other devices that way. And over time, I'm just kind of crossed off some of the companies that are no longer around. Now, while Siemens and Ericsson are still around, they're telecommunications companies that have other interests, some of which are actually helping to build the 5G networks that we're currently using, we are currently transitioning into, as well as Ericsson has many of the patents for Bluetooth that we use for a lot of devices today. The nature of the consumer electronic business is, in terms of plateaus and having a lot of companies disappear over the years, isn't anything new. This is an example of what happened 40 years ago. Many of these computer companies are still around today. Very few of them are around today, I should say. And some of them are doing other things as well. Now, I put IBM and HP on this list because while they were making personal computers, they weren't necessarily intended for home use or for common business use, but they were dedicated to financial transactions or scientific applications. I do recall a company in those days that was in Seattle that was creating potentiometers and using HP personal computers to test the resistance of them. And it was pretty much a 5-inch screen with a keyboard and a printer that printed out paper just like a cash register receipt that you would use for those test results. By the time the mid to late 1980s came, a few of those companies disappeared. And a lot of that was because of MS-DOS, Xenix, some other graphic-based operating systems that even Apple and Atari and Xerox were beginning to work with some of their information. Although Xerox was beginning to transition from being less of a computer manufacturer, but they did use some of their computer equipment to work with their digital imaging systems, and they were using some of the Sun products that use Linux, which we're going to also be showing how Linux works in future videos. And you can see today that out of that whole list, there's only 2 companies that remain. And while IBM has been removed from this list, and they're still a computer company, they don't work with personal computers since they did sell that division to Lenovo, but they also work with other projects, such as they're working with a lot of the bigger supercomputer projects and some of the quantum computing projects that some of the other scientific and financial business communities are working with today. And while in our own country there has been a push for cloud servers, there at the same time they are also facing tougher security standards. EU or European Union data protection concerns are happening as a result of surveillance by U.S. agencies on this information that's being contained. I just read a report a few days ago that if you're a German school or education institution, it's against the law to use Office 365. Office 365 is now becoming Microsoft 365, but it is the cloud platform that's used to run Word, Excel, and most of the Microsoft Office applications that have been used for several years. And with that, there is also an option now where where a lot of companies and homes and even you can now create your own cloud server at home. And this is what the Nextcloud project involves. Now, Siemens is a company that does use this for their own interest because they do have an enterprise system that you can pay for major corporations, and there are about a dozen of them right now that are using this system to do that. At the same time, Nextcloud provides a free community edition of their services, which this series of videos is going to show you how to set up using a Linux computer that is very inexpensive to use. And with this system, you'll also be able to back up everything on your phone onto this platform. So to wrap up this video, just a few things to keep in mind. Pick one that works for your home or business. There's no such thing as a free lunch in the IT industry. Keep it secure with a password and two-step authorization. And it's assurance that your data can be recovered not just from your phone, but can be used on your tablet as well as another computer. So I want to thank you for your time and listening to this video, and feel free to leave any email if you have any questions on the website timbabcock.net, and hope to hear from you soon.